Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a very good Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but as a standalone film, there's really nothing about it that leaves all that much of an impression. Bet you didn't expect that. Yeah, I don't know where people got this idea from, but I recall around the time I made a negative review of Detective Pikachu, I got a lot of comments like, yeah, but I bet you'll love this Sonic movie, won't you, shill? And while that is true, I am a shill.
Sega, please send me free stuff.
I'm still holding the Sonic movie franchise to the same standards I do with every other movie I watch. Very high. No, I never made a review of the first one, so let me quickly summarize my thoughts before I get on to the second. It's completely middle of the road, the dictionary definition of a 5 out of 10. It's got an incredibly basic story that does nothing new, but is entirely elevated to a watchable experience through the sweet relationship between Sonic and Tom. Now, I was very excited for the sequel. From the initial trailer we got, it seemed like it was improving on the original in every possible way, with of course the biggest draw being the fact that it appeared to have ditched all the lame human characters, in favor for more Sonic Universe guys such as Tails and Knuckles. And so it finally released. In the UK, that is. I flew all the way from LA back to Ireland just to see it a week early, and I was pretty disappointed. Now, that's not to say it's a bad movie or isn't worth watching or anything, because like I said, from a Sonic fan's point of view, it's more than worth the watch. But the overall experience ends up being a simple movie, plot and character-wise, and the only pluses I can really give it are admittedly moments I only enjoy because they tickle my nostalgia bone. By the way, I'm gonna try to be as spoiler-free as possible and mainly talk in general about the film, but later on when I do talk a little bit about the spoilers, I'll be sure to give a fair warning. But don't be surprised if I bring up a plot point for the sake of an argument, although I'll try to keep it minimal. The story of Sonic 2 picks up right where the last left off, with Sonic trying to become a vigilante and fighting crime, feeling miserably at it and getting the advice from Tom that his moment will come eventually, and that he needs to learn to be responsible. Great power comes great responsibility, never seen that before. But he's forced to get back into action as Dr. Robotnik is finally able to escape the Mushroom Planet, with the help of newly formed acquaintance Knuckles the Echidna, who is in search of Sonic as he believes he holds the key to acquiring the Master Emerald, which the Owl and Echidna clans have been having wars over for centuries. I feel like this was a pretty natural way of integrating the plot of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, while still carrying over elements from the previous movie. I'm glad they didn't abandon all the Longclaw stuff and everything they had been setting up in that one. Oh yeah, and Tails is here too, I guess? So apparently Tails has been watching Sonic from his dimension for almost the entirety of the first movie, and has stepped in to warn Sonic about Knuckles coming to attack him. But like, Tails warns him about Knuckles after he's already attacked, so exposition time! Tails is only here for the purpose of exposition. He's there to tell Sonic the lore of the Chaos Emeralds and nothing else. It really makes sense why they barely focused on him during the marketing. He has nothing to do here. And Jim Carrey is basically doing the same shtick as the first, except amped up to 11 this time, with him being a full-on lunatic. He even flosses at one point, so that's how you know he's insane. That's less of a spoiler and more just me mentally preparing you for that so it doesn't catch you off guard like it did me. But yeah, that's basically the entire plot. What you saw in the trailers is as far as it ever gets. There's nothing all too deep about it. They don't attempt to take anything in a new direction. It's just a bare bones end of the world, get the MacGuffin kind of film. Well, okay, there is a little bit more to the plot, which they barely showed you in the trailers. And it's that an absurd amount of this film's runtime is taken up with dumbass human antics in Hawaii. To be fair, the movie is like 2 hours long and 20 minutes is taken up with this human stuff, but that's still like 15 minutes too much for my liking. I wouldn't have even minded as much if it were like Tom the Cop or Maddie, but it was mostly focused on Maddie's sister from the previous movie. I guess because she garnered the most laughs from the first one. Like, no joke, she was the only character to get a response from the audience the 3 times I saw Sonic 1 in theaters.
She'll be fine.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I guess they figured showing more of her would only be a good thing, but all it does in the end is take the attention away from this fairly fast-paced action movie, to halt everything so we can find out about her husband working for the government and catfishing her. Oh my god, I'm so happy they got back together by the end. This is a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Now, the movie having this basic story wouldn't have mattered much to me. Honestly, with a lot of my favorite media out there, the story is what I'm concerned the least about. My main focus is always on the characters and how they develop over time. And in regards to that, I was extremely disappointed with Sonic 2. Because it all just feels so half-assed and lazy, like they weren't even attempting to do anything interesting with these guys. Sonic is pretty much the same as first movie Sonic. I thought going in that this movie would be about him maturing a bit, but no, the moral at the end is that Sonic acknowledges that he will start to mature someday. Cool, we're getting there. See, Knuckles is probably the movie's strongest character. He's consistently the most entertaining, coolest, and it was neat to get to see some of his backstory. I thought all that stuff was handled well. Although for some odd reason near the end of the film, he went from being a naive but fearless warrior to a brain-dead idiot who can't pronounce words right. Like, instead of calling it baseball, he calls it base of the ball. See, it's funny because he didn't say the words right. But still, I thoroughly enjoyed him in this. I'm glad to see him become a part of the movie universe. Something I cannot say about Tails. It's so weird. The only real thing he contributes here is to be an exposition dump. There's almost no time taken in between him meeting Sonic and the two considering each other friends. All it takes is them dancing to Uptown Funk together and now they're best pals. I wish I was making that up. There just really needed to be a scene of Sonic and Tails actually being pals and having fun with each other, that more naturally built up to them becoming friends. Around halfway through the film, Tails gets put out of commission for like 20 minutes, and for a while I forgot he was even there at all. He barely contributes anything. But they can't make him contribute anything, because the filmmakers have so much ground to cover in such a short time span. The pacing is probably what ends up hurting this movie the most, and is what causes it to come off as such a mess. They're just desperately tearing through scenes as fast as possible so they can get to the stuff they know people want to see. Like, the first movie actually takes a good 30 or so minutes to establish everything it wants to. The main plot doesn't actually kick off until we get a good couple scenes exploring Sonic's character, with of course the highlight being the baseball scene. But in Sonic 2, since they're tied between so many characters, there's no time for any of them to properly get developed. They introduced Knuckles in the first like 5 minutes. It feels so rushed, like the script was a first draft. In one shot we just have the ring, then a close-up of Eggman's face, then suddenly Knuckles is walking out of it. It's so jarring. Honestly, the whole script just feels like it could have done with another draft or two, just to iron some stuff out. Like the humor. The humor in this movie is either non-existent or incredibly painful. We get twice as many lame fart jokes compared to the first, and twice as many references. I'm also getting really tired of the fact that every character needs to be wacky and tell jokes. It makes a lot of them fall flat, because you feel like the line could be coming out of any character's mouth. And speaking of mouths, I was very surprised how well the animation was in this one for the most part. I was initially worried it'd turn out worse compared to the first, since there's so many more characters they gotta deal with, but no, it all looked great and way more expressive compared to it. There are a couple shots that are a little janky, like when Knuckles shakes the hand of Agent Stone and the tracking is all weird, but I can look over a lot of that stuff, because of how impressive a lot of the other moments are. They definitely aim to make this more of an action film compared to the first, and I think they did a pretty good job with all that stuff, with the obvious highlights being the fights between Sonic and Knuckles. In general, Sonic 2 has a much bigger scope compared to the last one, with a lot more locations and sets, and they all look good for the most part, really awful green screens withstanding. I think my main issue though with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has to be that the team ended up doing what I feared would happen most, and that's getting too occupied with trying to appeal to Sonic fans with as many references as possible. Because in a lot of ways, they sacrifice a lot of time in this film to stuff that's only there so Sonic fans can go, "Whoa, hey, I recognize that, this movie's good now." I hate the fact that I'm seeing so many Sonic fans act surprised when I say I wasn't all that into this movie because, you're a Sonic fan, how could you not love all the references to the games? And I don't know, isn't there just more to a movie than all the easy things they could do to try and tug on your heartstrings? It seriously can't be that easy to impress some of you, right? See, I came out of this movie with two mindsets. The me that's a movie fan, and the me that's a Sonic fan. The me that's a Sonic fan loved it. I loved the imagery of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles together, all the deep cuts to the games, the fact that they, okay, skip to this time to avoid spoilers, but the fact that they brought in fucking Super Sonic at the end, now see, that was freaking sweet. But then there's the movie part of me who questions where the tension is supposed to be in this scene, because Sonic only turns super after Eggman loses the Master Emerald, all his power, so he's really no challenge at all for him anymore. Seems a little unfair and removes all the tension, but still, though, it's really cool. Then the post-credit reveal of motherfucking Shadow the Hedgehog. While walking out of this movie, every time I brought up a complaint, it was always followed up by me going, "But fucking Shadow though, holy shit, that's so fucking cool." You understand my dilemma here, right? I'm really worried about the way they're going to handle Shadow in the next movie. From the way this one ended and the fact that Jim Carrey is retiring from acting, it's not a stretch to say they killed him off by the end, not to return in future entries. But then how do you tell the Shadow story without the person who unleashed him? And then I wonder, do I even trust them to tell any good Shadow story? These writers have no restraints when it comes to making an actual serious character. So could they even make a compelling character for Shadow without feeling the need to make him all goofy or crack jokes every couple seconds? But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Overall, I'd say the first Sonic movie is a better movie in general, mostly due to the better pacing, with it actually allowing scenes to breathe and having characters develop. But from a Sonic fan's perspective, Sonic Movie 2 is way more entertaining and fun. So I guess even though I personally wasn't a big fan of it, I'd still recommend it if you like Sonic. You'll definitely get something out of it. All I can say is I hope for Sonic Movie 3 they decide to reel things in a little, and focus more on telling a good story of likable characters, rather than just overstuffing a movie to fit as many references and game lore shit in as possible, just so you can come off as more relatable to your audience. Still though, dude, that fucking post-credit scene, that was so fucking hype.